Hi, this educational video is going to be about how to do a Raku style firing in a microwave kiln. The kiln I'm going to use today is the Paragon Magic Fuse microwave kiln. There are other brands on the market that you can use, but the timing and the specifications that in this video are going to be dealing with the Paragon version. So the first thing you need, besides having a microwave kiln, is a suitable microwave. I suggest you have a microwave that is dedicated to firing. In other words, you're not using it for food, and that you can keep in your studio so that any off-gassing occurs in the studio as opposed to in your kitchen. The microwave I'm going to be using is a 1,000-watt microwave, which is fairly high. Industrial ones are 1,200 watt. The 1,000-watt is generally bigger than you find in most kitchens. Most kitchens have 750-watt microwaves or thereabouts, and so the timing may vary on that. So I'm going to be using a 1,000-watt microwave and the Paragon Magic Fuse microwave kiln. Safety-wise, there are a few things you need to take into account. When you remove the piece from the little microwave kiln, it's going to be at about cone 05. It's going to be exceedingly hot enough that the glaze has melted if you put glaze onto your piece. So you're going to need some heavy-duty heat-proof gloves. These are Kevlar type gloves. I've got one for each hand so that when I pick up the kiln, I can lift it with both hands safely. You're also going to need some eye protection. These are Shade 2 rated goggles. These will protect your eyes from the infrared and UV that are emitted during the firing process. You will also want some clear goggles for when you take the Raku piece out of the metal container that contains your sawdust or your newspaper, whatever it is you're using to do your reduction with, and put it into water. So just in case something cracks or shatters, you've got eye protection. You'll need some tongs. You can have short tongs or long tongs. These are crucible tongs. They're rated for high fire. You don't want to use something that will deform or melt or will conduct heat very readily from the tip up to the handle where your hand is. And then the last thing you're going to need is some bisque. And I use Raku clay to make my Raku bisque from. Raku clay is formulated with a special grog so that it can take the extreme from coming from the kiln, going into a can with sawdust, and going into the water without cracking or breaking, hopefully. Your non-Raku clays are not made to withstand those sudden temperature changes, and you may get some breakage. So I will give you a list at the end of the materials I use and where I buy them from, but you don't have to buy 25 pounds of Raku clay. There is a company online that will sell you 4 pounds of clay, postage paid, for about $8. And so that's what I've done, is I went ahead and ordered 4 pounds so that I could practice and experiment with it. And now that I'm happy with it, I'll look into getting more clay. So on this little dish here, I have some medallions that I've made out of Raku clay and that I fired in my kiln to cone 04. You can actually fire raw clay in the little Raku kiln. I had so many medallions, rather than just keep running the microwave the whole time, I just went ahead and fired a lot of bisque in my kiln. If you are going to fire your raw clay in the microwave kiln, you need to put it in the oven at about 325 for 30 minutes to make sure you drive off all the water so it doesn't explode while it's firing. So these are already bisqued, and they're made out of Raku clay. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to go through here and I'm going to pick a piece that I want to work with. And I'm going to take a fairly large piece because I want to be able to show you what I'm doing. So I'm going to go ahead and take this paw print cookie, as I call it, made out of Raku bisque. And I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to take some glaze and I'm going to apply the glaze. You can use Raku glaze, and you can also use regular low fire glaze. You're doing 2 steps in this procedure. When it's in the microwave, it's an actual oxidation firing. So the standard low fire glazes that you would use on normal ceramic earthenware pieces will work fine. Then when you actually take the piece out of the microwave and put it into the reaction chamber with the sawdust or your pine needles or whatever it is you're reacting it with, then that becomes the reduction part of the firing, which is where the Raku glazes will really change a lot. The standard glazes will also change. You'll get sort of metallic colors from it, but they don't change quite as much as the Raku. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take this fairly large cookie and I'm going to put several types of glaze on it in different areas so we can sort of see what happens. So the first thing I'm going to do is I'm going to take some Raku glaze, and this is R18 Lustrous Copper by Amco. And if you do decide you want to use a microwave kiln, you're going to have to do some practice firings and just document everything you do. I have a notebook and I've written down my firing, the piece that I fired, the glaze that I used, how long it was fired, what I put it in the reduction chamber, things like that. The better your records are, the better you're going to be able to get reproducible results. Because Raku can be sort of a crapshoot. You know, you may do everything the same again and you may not get the same results. And Raku is actually a Japanese method that was centuries old for making tea containers or teacups. And, you know, the West has kind of taken over the term but changed the way it's done. So you'll hear it referred to as Western Raku or Raku. And, you know, there's horsehair Raku, which I will show later in another video. And you can do that in the microwave as well. So there's various ways of doing it. And there's some debate as to whether it's true Raku or not. But I'm going to go ahead and just call it Raku because that's what most people are familiar with. So we're going to take the glaze and I'm just going to go ahead and put it on one side, the top side. Okay. We're not going to do the bottom. I'm going to keep the bottom clear. The bottom will turn a smoky black gray color from the reduction chamber, so it won't stay plain white. And I'm just going to go ahead and put on my copper luster. Clean my brush here. And then the next area, I'm going to add some Duncan Parchment Crackle Glaze. And then, just to change it up a bit, I'm going to add a little bit of Duncan Mocha Crackle Glaze. And obviously, if you're doing this as a class or in a group, you're going to want to pour your glaze onto a plate so that everybody is working off of off their own amount of glaze, and it's not going to cross-contaminate the glaze that's in the original container. Okay, so I'm going to let that layer dry, and I'm going to add another coat, and then we'll let that dry, and then we'll come back and I will show you how to fire. So we have our glazed bisque cookie, and now what we're going to do is make sure it's really dry. You can, if you do a lot of these, you can put them in your oven at about 325 for about 30 minutes to drive off any water. Or alternatively, if you've only got one piece, what you can do is you can take your microwave kiln, and I have a little stand, one of the little 1/2-inch stands that comes with the kiln in the middle that I can sit the piece on. So I'm going to sit that on there, and I'm going to put the lid on, and I'm going to put it into the microwave for 10 seconds just to drive off any water. Now in the microwave, I have 3 of these little stands set up like a triangle, so that the microwave is actually sitting on those little stands. I also am putting the kiln on the rotating table. That keeps the heat coming out of the hole in the top of the kiln from just hitting one part of your microwave. If your microwave has got a rough rotation, so in other words it kind of jiggles and it may knock your piece off of that little post, you can just go ahead and take the round table out and just put the microwave on, or the kiln on top of the little pieces on the floor of the microwave. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead, I'm going to shut the door. I'm going to go ahead and set it for 10 seconds. And I'm going to fire it to drive some water off, if there is any. Now on this microwave, I've determined it takes 10 seconds to make a complete rotation. Which is nice to know because now it's at the front again. I don't have to reach way in the back. Right now it's warm, but it's not real hot. So I'm just going to go ahead, I'm going to lift it. And any moisture that was in there will evaporate off. I'm going to go ahead and do it for another 10 seconds just to make good and sure it's cool. I mean, it's dry rather. Again, lift the lid. I can feel it starting to get a little warm. Again, it's not hot, but it is, you can tell it's starting to get warm. The inside of the lid has got a silicon carbide paint, and that's what absorbs the heat and then radiates it back towards your piece and allows the microwave kiln to reach, about 1800 degrees Fahrenheit without damaging your oven. Okay, so now we're going to put the lid back down. And now we're going to do the actual firing. So from here on out, when you're dealing with the microwave kiln, you're going to want to have your gloves and your eye protection. So I'm going to set it for 15 minutes. Again, this is based on this particular wattage of microwave and this particular microwave kiln. And when you're about 3 minutes left in the firing, you'll notice in the top hole of the kiln, it'll get a bright yellow color. So the colors in this little microwave kiln very accurately mimic the colors that you would see in your standard kiln, so you get an idea of what temperature you're at. So we'll come back in 15 minutes and go on to the next step. Okay, so we're down to 1 minute on the microwave, And hopefully the camera can pick up the fact that there's a yellow glow coming out of the top of the microwave kiln, and also as it comes around you can see it on the side there. I've also got a fire extinguisher handy, just in case when I put the hot ceramic piece into the sawdust, you know, the fire gets out of hand. So I'm going to put on my Shade 2 safety glasses. I'm going to go ahead and take the lid off of the combustion chamber. Put my safety gloves on. And also you want to make sure, you know, you're wearing pants, not shorts, and that you have closed-toed shoes, just in case you have some sort of an oopsie. Okay, so I'm going to prop the door open. I'm going to lift the microwave kiln. I'm going to place it here. I'm going to let the kiln, the microwave air out. I'm going to lift the lid, put it over here. Make sure you're putting this on a fireproof surface. I'm going to pick up a little medallion and put it in the shavings. They're going to set fire to the shavings. I'm going to take the lid of the kiln, put it back over here, and then I'm going to move it over to here so it's away from the fire. Okay, as that's burning, I'm going to go ahead and put the lid on. So I'm going to form a reduction atmosphere, and we're going to let it sit for approximately 10 minutes. In the meantime, the microwave kiln needs to cool for about an hour, and then you can reuse it. So you can fire these about once an hour, and you can fit more than one piece in there. I've done 8 pieces at a time. Pieces that are about the size of this little skull bead. I can fit about 8 of those around that central post, and so I can put one large piece and then small ones around it. So in about 10 minutes, I'll lift the lid and we'll look at our Raku puppy paw prints. So it's been about 10 minutes. We've allowed the piece to sit in the reduction firing. I'm going to crack the lid a little bit because there's going to be some smoke involved. So you can see the smoke coming out. You can do this outdoors, obviously. My studio is in a garage bay, so it's not well sealed. So I usually just go ahead and fire in here. This metal cart obviously is heat proof, so I can allow the kiln and the combustion chamber to cool on it. The other thing I have is a little metal bowl full of water, and that's what I'm going to put the piece in. So I'm going to put my eye protection on. Going to lift the lid. Going to fish out the piece. Put the lid back on to contain the smoke, and I'm going to put the piece in the water. This stage, it'll be close to room temperature. Okay, so here we have our paw print medallion. The bottom glaze was the Raku glaze. You can see it's got a metallic sheen to it, or shine to it. Then the 2 top glazes were Crackle glazes. So my last step will be to put some India ink on there to allow it to go into the crackle, so the crackle pattern will show up. Then I will seal everything with some Johnson paste wax. And the back, which was white, you can now see has carbonized with the smoke from the Raku, and so that's permanent. I'll also put the wax on the back of that as well. And there is your beautiful little pendant from your microwave kiln Raku firing. Okay, so I'm going to show you how to finish off this pendant. I have some India ink. This is by Speedball, but any brand of India ink will work. I've shaken it up, and I'm going to go ahead and just dip my brush in, just get a little bit, and I'm just going to rub it over the areas where the Crackle glaze was applied. like so. Then I'm going to take a clean piece of paper towel and just wipe it off. And you can see how that brought up the crackle and the glaze. So now the next thing I'm going to do is I want to seal the Raku clay. So I'm going to take some Johnson paste wax, take a piece of paper towel, get a little bit of wax, and I'm going to rub it over the front and the back. And if it's a deep enough piece, the sides. Seal everything off. And I'm just going to let it sit for a minute or two. The paste wax will eventually turn sort of a cloudy color, and then I'll just buff it off. So it's got sort of a cloudy cast to it, so now I'm just going to polish it off. This will also bring up the metallic sheen as well. Okay, so you can see the back of the piece has got the smoky black from the reduction firing. And the front of the piece now has that really nice metallic area where we added the copper luster glaze, and then the top of the piece where we put the two different crackle glazes has that nice crackle pattern to make it look antique.